Hey everybody, so viewer Raptor says, not sure where to put this, but I have an arena question that won't fit well into Twitch chat. Can you discuss anything about the ranking system for Mythic players? After the stream today, Mobius was ranked number 2 Mythic, played and beat the number 1 player, and was still ranked number 2 after that, and still after 2 consecutive losses following that. This behavior, especially at very high levels, isn't too strange. I'm assuming it's some Glicko or Elo variant. Any chance you can elaborate on the system? And can you comment on the lack of transparency in the ranking system? In other words, I'm assuming that hiding the internals of the ranking system was a deliberate design choice. Sure. So I don't know too much about where they ended up. When I left Wizards, I had been working on this kind of thing, but we hadn't settled on exactly how the ranking was going to work in the top 1,000 or whatever. But we implemented what's called, the Glicko is, those of you who are not familiar with the term Elo or Glicko, there is, it's basically a way to measure players against each other based on with an adjustment based on skill level. And it came out of this guy named, I forget his last name, but his first name was Elo, which is why the system is called Elo. It's not an acronym for anything. It's actually a dude's name, ELO. And it basically says, okay, we're going to put some points in a pool. Imagine a pile of points, and based on, it's a completely even match. So if it's an even match, we're going to take we're going to split the pile evenly. And so if you win, if I win, I'm going to get 5. And if you lose, you're going to lose 5. So if it's even, my rating goes up the same level that yours goes down, right? If it's even. But if it's mismatched, a different thing happens. Let's say LSV is playing almost a brand new Magic player, and they're properly rated via Elo or Glicko. Basically what happens there is, instead of this 2 even piles, you get an extreme swing what the piles look like. Let's say there's 20 total points available. You might say, okay, we're going to split it 19-1. And if Luis wins as expected, he gets 1 point. And if he loses, as we don't expect, he's going to lose 19 because he's beating up on somebody who we don't expect to win. And on the flip side, if that new player loses, they only lose 1 point because that's what we expected. If they pull off the miracle and win, then they're going to get this huge boost of points. So that's how the Elo systems work in terms of how they adjust, because it's a number. Like your Elo is a number, and it goes up or down relative to the strength of your opponent. And how much it goes up or down on wins and losses is based on the relative strength of your opponent. And then the Glicko is a version of Elo that basically has some extra algorithm to allow the Elo to close in on an accurate rating faster. It does a better job of understanding how accurate the rating is, because the trouble with Elo is that it can it often just measures how you've done recently. So I know that there may be some other weights, but it definitely, like, I know that fundamentally that Arena is tracking player Glicko, and it's generally not exposed because it's not something it is a design choice. Raptor was talking about transparency, but basically because your Glicko is just a number that's changing based on results, what happened in a situation where the number 1 Mythic player faces the number 2 Mythic player, number 1 loses but maintains their position. Let's go to that 19-1 split again. These are 2 high-level players. Let's say there's only 10 points on the line, and currently player number 1 is 15 points ahead in Glicko over number 2. So then number 2 wins. Well, let's say and they only go up. They don't quite go up enough to pass them. Actually, that's bad because there is a 20 points. Let's say they're 50 points ahead on Glicko. Even though number 2 beat number 1, their Glicko hasn't caught up to number 1. And if it's based on that kind of numerical Elo Glicko style number, you can absolutely lose and not gain any ground. And similarly, So number 2 might be miles ahead of 3 and 4, such that when Mobius goes on to lose twice in a row, even though they fall a couple of times, they still haven't fallen to below number 3. So that's clearly how it can be weird at the top levels, in terms of how it doesn't seem like number 2 beats number 1, they should become number 1, but it's not college football. It's an algorithm, and it's just a slave to the algorithm. And so as far as showing it or not, that's just a design decision that you ask yourself how you want to motivate players. And because if you show players numbers, they're going to care about it. And here's the thing, Magic Online, I don't know. I know that when I was working on it, we took it off. Like we stopped showing, used to be on Magic Online, they use straight ELO, and you could see your opponent's ELO, right? You could see how good your opponent was in the early days of Magic Online, and that was kind of terrible. I had multiple accounts on Magic Online. One of them was my main account that had like a 1850 plus ELO, and then my other one was a throwaway experiment, play well drunk, stone, whatever, the mess around account that had a terrible ELO. And people would treat me differently. Like if I came in with a bad ELO, people would be so salty at me if I would beat them and stuff. But whereas when I came in with an amazing ELO, opponents would be almost too reverent of me because of my record. It was really weird. So we took Magic Online stripped those from showing them to players. Like you couldn't see your opponents because that was just creating salty behavior. And then they took them away from players being able to see. But I think Magic Online has reintroduced visible ELO because there's very few other ways to measure yourself on that system. There's trophies, but trophies are a terrible system to measure yourself by because if you play more, you get more. That's not really fair. But so I think Magic Online shows you your ELO to give you something to care about, something to chase and to measure yourself against. And I feel like Arena has it hidden because they want us to focus on rank. They want us to care about what our let me get out of your way, what our current ranks are. This is what they want us to care about. And if they show us that matchmaking or show us the ELO or show us what's under the hood, then instead of being obsessed with the fact that I'm silver tier 4 and closing in on gold, which is where they want my head to be, I get obsessed with my ELO is 1720 and I want to get it higher. And like suddenly, wait, do I care about my rank or my ELO? So you really want to focus on your design to focus on what you want your players to chase. And Arena has clearly chosen rank as the thing they want to be how you measure yourself, how you see improvement and progress. And accordingly, they've buried all of the kind of clunky, weird looking, hard to explain ELO matchmaking rank system under the hood, so that it's pretty clean in terms of what the player experience is. But if you're not using rank, they could have just do ELO instead, or they could show it as a progress bar or something. But I like not showing it. I think you show those numbers to people and you get them caring about the wrong thing. I mean, you know me, I have a spreadsheet because I don't even think this is the right thing to care about as a player either. And I don't think your ELO is the right thing to care about as a player. I like looking at my long-term win-loss and see how I'm doing in formats and see how I'm just all about ultimately the win-loss measurement, which is why I keep my own spreadsheet. Anyway, Raptor wanted me to talk, asked about that, about why it's weird at the top levels of Mythic, how number 1 can lose to number 2 and there's no change. And I thought I would try and explain that a little to you from a design side. So I hope that was informative, and we'll catch you next time.